Welcome to this Mangold tutorial about logging standard events with duration using Mangold Interact. This tutorial covers the definition of a few simple codes and shows how using these codes works. To start with your first code definition, open the Code Definition dialog by clicking the Observation Codes icon on the Start tab. If someone did use Interact before, the last codes will appear. In that case, click New to prevent messing with another set of codes. For a first-time use of Interact, the dialog will be empty to start with. Being on the same empty page now, we can enter some expressions that we want to log during an observation. These expressions are used to label a specific time sequence in the video, and we call them codes. In this tiny example, we'll define some codes that reflect the gaze direction of a patient during a therapy session. Something like therapist, floor, wall, ceiling, table, and hands. But you can use any type of descriptive expressions that fit your research instead. Don't be too cryptic in your definition. Simply enter some easy-to-understand expressions. Besides the codes, it is vital that you enter a class name for each code. In this example, we enter gaze for our class name. The class name will be used as a column header, and it tells Interact in which column to enter each code that is logged. In Interact, we presume that all codes have duration. That is why this duration option is active by default. Untick the box in the dir column to log a timestamp only. Last but not least, each code requires a single shortcut key. If you do not have any personal preferences, let Interact enter unique keys for each code by clicking the Automatically Add Keys button. The other options and columns in the Code Definitions dialog are not used in this first setup, but they will become important when implementing more complex coding systems. You can add a lot more codes to a single code definition file, but we strongly recommend entering only codes you plan to observe in a single pass. There is no technical limitation to the number of codes in Interact, but cognitively, it will be very hard to log completely different types of observations accurately. Having too many codes in one code definition file is distracting and error-prone. If you are observing in multiple passes anyway, keep your list of current codes as short as possible. Especially because you can open another code definition file for each pass and still log your observations in the very same data file. Click Save to store the code definitions and name the file comprehensively so it is easy to understand what part of the observations it applies to. You can share this file with other coders to ensure everyone uses the exact same codes. Okay, now that we have predefined some codes, we can start with our observations. Open a recording and resize and position the multimedia window for the best view on the scene. Before we start, verify that the coding mode is set to standard. We won't get into the additional coding modes in this tutorial, but if needed, you can switch between coding modes in the Observation Settings dialog. When all is well, click the green Start Observation button to switch to the Interact observation mode. Skip the upcoming dialog by clicking Not Now, because we will discuss the file referencing possibilities in another tutorial. Now, the coding panel appears, listing our predefined codes and classes. Using this coding panel, logging events with the mouse works like a breeze. The panel also serves as a memory aid when using the shortcut keys on the keyboard, and the currently active codes are highlighted, so keeping track of what events are currently being logged is easy. In addition to the coding panel, the observation ribbon now shows a number of multimedia controls with a full timeline for the current recording underneath. We can undock the video controls and position them next to the video if we want, for easier access. If the first image of the recording shows something that matches one of the predefined codes, click the corresponding code to log its existence from the very start. If not, hit play to watch the video and hit pause the moment you observe an activity that matches one of the predefined codes and click on the code. In both cases, the first click creates a new event line. Hold in the code and a start time matching the current position of the video in the document. Depending on the expected length of the event, hit play to continue or use the frame-by-frame command to move forward. When the current event ends, hit pause and maybe adjust the current position for better accuracy and click on the same code as before. In this most basic way of logging events, an event is started and stopped with the same code. Logging mutually exclusive and exhaustive events or using a hierarchical coding system will be covered in other tutorials. By the way, This is a good time to mention that you can slow down or speed up the regular play speed with those little arrows. Interact offers more special control features and many helpful customizable shortcuts, but that will be part of another tutorial. Depending on the required accuracy, you can also let the video run while you log your events. And with the codes as they are, logging overlapping events works as well. Simply start as many events as needed by activating additional codes, either while pausing the video in between or while it keeps on running. This does, of course, not make sense for our demo gaze direction codes, but for other codes it can be important. All active codes are highlighted in the control panel, and all open events are displayed like this in the data file, holding a code and only at start time, waiting to be closed. Feel free to pause, rewind, and fast forward to position the recording at the required position. When clicking a code or pressing its corresponding shortcut key, the current time, as displayed in the timer here, is used for the timing of the current code. Whether it is the start or the end of an event depends on the click in order. The first click logs the start time and creates the event line. The second click logs the end time. When finished with your observation pass, click Stop to properly end the observation mode. That's it! Now you can log events with simple, straightforward codes designed for logging observations as they occur, usable for logging overlapping events as well as events with gaps in between. Interact does have a lot more tricks up its sleeve, so if you want to log mutually exclusive and exhaustive events or your coding system needs a hierarchical approach, stay tuned. We are happy to speed up your research, so watch our other videos to learn more.